So we've covered all the consonants and vowels. That's the biggest hurdle. Now that you've got that, today's lesson is just about reviewing that. You need to practice getting really familiar with those symbols. So we're just going to review some of those, and you can see if you can pronounce them. And if you need extra time, you can always pause in between. So let's start out with this. How would this be pronounced? You can check your consonants and your vowels, and this would be ba, like what a sheep says, ba. So you got the bait with the dot, which makes it a B. It'd be ba. If you took that out, how would it be pronounced? Va, because the bait is one of those letters that has a different pronunciation with that pronunciation dot. Okay, let me give you another one. How about this would be go. Go. The gimel and the holem. Go. How about bay, bay. The sere makes a long A sound. Okay, so those are the three long vowels in three different classes. The three long vowels. Now, there's very long vowels. There's 5 of those which have a consonant vowel working together. So let's try that. If we've got this, what would it be if you saw that? Ba, again, pronounced exactly the same, but in this situation, you've got the comets working together with the hey. That is one vowel called a comete. It's a very long vowel. And when we say long and short and very long, we mean duration of time. In English, they talk about long and short in a totally different way, a less accurate way, if you ask my opinion. But anyway, so comete, that's one vowel. You got to remember that when you see that. That's one vowel. So it's pronounced the same though. Ba. Okay, let's try. That's a vav there. Again, pronounced exactly the same. Go. Go. It's just very long. That vav, in ancient times was a W, and you can hear that W when you say go. You can hear that. So this is one vowel. It's a vowel and a consonant working together to make one vowel, and that's called the holem vav. You got the holem and the vav, holem vav. Just like the comets and the hey, comets hey. And we've got one for this by adding the letter yod. How do you pronounce this? Same thing, bay, bay. And you can even hear the Y sound, bay. You just hear that a little tiny bit. That's why they use that in this mater, mater is the fancy word for a vowel and a consonant working together to make one vowel. So there you have it. There's six of your vowels and 2 of your consonants. Let's try this with some other consonants just to get familiar with them. We'll do some short letters, and short letters are typically in closed syllables, so we'll need 2. So let's go with a little practice on the vowel nun, and we'll put a short vowel under there, and we'll close it with this letter. See if you can figure out how that would be pronounced. Knit. Nun, hirik, tau. Knit. Knit. Every syllable, you're going to read in this kind of a motion typically. Unless there's a hole and the vowel's up high, but often the vowels are underneath. So this is a short vowel, this heuric, and it is short because it's closed. You're rushing through it to get to that other syllable, nit. Okay, let's do another short vowel. How would this be pronounced? Nep. Nep. You got the nun again, the segol, and the pay with the pronunciation dot. So, nep. Now, if you didn't have that pronunciation dot, the pay is pronounced differently. What would that be? Nef. So, with it, you had something like nep. Without the dot, it's something like nef. These are not words, these are just practicing making the sounds that the letters make. We'll get to words next week a lot. Nef. But I think it's more fun. The more you get reinforced with pronouncing these things, then the words reinforce the letters again. Everything we do from now on will reinforce all of these letters. So, nef. Here we go. And we have got another short vowel. Let's try this again. Not. So this is a as in father. So, N-A-T, but it's the way they pronounce an A is a long ah, what we call a long ah. Even though this is a short vowel, it's a short ah. So not. The way we'd pronounce it like this, not. Okay, and there is one more short vowel. Well, there's technically two, but one's very rare. There's one more short vowel, and I'll do it over here. Let me get a better marker. This is a final letter. Pun. Pun. So you got the pay with the dot, the kibbutz, which is a sound, as in mutt or put, and a final nun. So this is something like pun. Okay. Now there is another short vowel that unfortunately it looks just like the comets. Well, we did the comets earlier. It's called the comets hatuf. Basically, it's pronounced very much the same, just a little more O in it, and it's an O class vowel. But that's very rare. You just need to keep that in the back of your mind that once in a rare while, this symbol can be not a normal comets, but a comets hatuf, which is O class, which was what I called, that class, I called the small mouth class, O, if you remember. But anyway, so that's all the short vowels. Short vowels are in closed syllables. That's why I'm putting a second consonant with them. Okay, now we need to cover the maters of some of these. Well, there's one, and it's the heuric. The heuric can be in a vowel consonant of very long, but heuric is unusual because when you put it when you use it along together with yod, you get the heuric yod. But the heuric yod, the other maters are pronounced just like that with an extra symbol. And this one's different. When you see heuric yod together, they work together to make an E. So this will be pronounced ni. So let's try this. tsi, tsi. And you can put a letter on the end of that. That's a final letter. Seam. So it's like a seam, because the Hiric Yod works together to make one vowel sound, and that's the long E, and of course the Tzadeh and the final Mem, seam. Okay, that's very important because you see Hiric Yod final Mem, that's their plural, that's their most common plural. So you hear like cherubim, you've heard people say cherubim, because we see an I in English, but it's, that im ending is their plural. Okay, so that is all the vowels, but we'll repeat some and try practicing some other consonants. Let's try this. Litz, litz, lamed, Hiric, tzadeh, final tzadeh, hangs down. I often exaggerate the hanging down, and they won't exaggerate that much in a printed text, but litz. Okay, and sometimes you'll notice that the final, in a printed text, is just a little more like that. But anyway, there's different, you'll get used to different fonts. In fact, in a few moments we're going to go to Jonah, and that'll be in a printed font, and you'll get to see some of that. And you'll get used to it pretty quick. Just the same way you can read someone's handwriting, you can also read printed text, even though they're quite different in English. Okay, let's practice another one. Oat, oat. This, for our purposes, is silent. This is a holum, long O, and a tau, oat. Tau sometimes has a pronunciation dot in it, but it doesn't make any difference for us. So our modern English ear doesn't pick up that difference. And there's still a little bit of a debate about that, but if people tell you there's a TH, they're wrong, but don't worry about that. If you get another teacher that says there's a TH in Hebrew, they're mistaken, there was no TH, but that's okay, do it their way if you have another teacher. So that's oat. Resh, holum, final nun, roan, roan. This is something my sons say all the time. Sheesh, sheesh. The syllable is at the end of the word Tarshish, which we are going to see in Jonah in the first few verses. We probably won't get to it today, but that's okay. Sheesh. So you got the sheen and the Hiric Yod making an E and another sheen. So, okay, that's enough consonant practice. Let's get to Jonah itself. So as you can see here, remember we're reading right to left. You've got I got a difficult word at the beginning there. Let me write it on the board for you. That first word is this. There's a vav. Underneath that's a patag. Then a yod. And then there's a symbol that we actually didn't cover in the vowels because it's not really a vowel. And you really, if you didn't watch last week's lesson, you should go. I think I covered this toward the very end of that video. You should cover that. This symbol, The Shiva is often means no sound. It really, like what they do is, if you like that, what we just had, sheesh. If that's the end of the word, they'll leave it. But if this is part of the beginning of a word and there's more letters here, they'll put this to say, I'm part of this syllable. I'm just closing out that syllable. There's no sound under me. That's what that says. It's a silent Shiva. But once in a while, they use that silent symbol to mean just the tiniest bit of a vowel, like in our English word didn't, right? We say didn't. But because it's impossible to make a blend of these three letters, we add a little tiny something right there. Didn't. What is that little? It's just the bareliest didn't. So that's that. In other situations, like our word here, you're going to see what you call a vocalized Shiva. So there's the silent Shiva and the vocalized Shiva. It's either nothing or almost nothing, that symbol. So here we have the first word in Jonah. It's a very, very important word because it starts stories out in the Bible all the time. So let's break it up into syllables. First syllable, you've got va, vav and a patak, va. Second syllable, you've got a vocalized Shiva here, y. And then third syllable, he, a hey, and then hirakyot. So, vayihi, accents here, vayihi. It means, and then it happened, or, and it came to pass, King James. Or something like, once upon a time. It's like, okay, I'm starting out a little story here. It could be a short little paragraph, but this would mark a past tense narrative. You're telling a story. So you'll say, and so it happened, that this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. You tell your story with the little markers along the way, but it starts out with this, and then it gets to a shortened form throughout the story. So vayihi is a very important word. So then it happened, and then the next word there, it's actually two words. There's a hyphen there. They call it a makaf, but it's a hyphen. So how would you pronounce that word? The first word before the hyphen, the second word in the verse. Devar. Devar means word. It can also mean thing, because words were very serious back then. They didn't have as many empty words as we have. So word and thing. And then that next word, so we've got, now notice, let me write with blue here. Notice that in the printed text, it was probably hard for you to tell that that was a daled, because you're used to seeing daleds like this, very clear. When they print them, they give a little like that. They give a little, just barely, you can tell. But anyway, that's a daled. So it's devar, which means word. And there's a pronunciation dot, because that's one of the letters, the 6 letters that can get them, even though it makes no difference to us. And it's just barely anything. Devar. So you're barely putting a vowel there. Devar. So that's a vocalized Shiva. Devar means word. And then those next letters, that's the name of God. Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. Don't pronounce it. Whenever you're reading Hebrew and you come to that, just say Adonai. So, Devar Adonai, the word of the Lord. The reason that we say the word of the Lord, that's what Adonai means, is Lord, is because we don't know for sure how to pronounce it. Jehovah was a guess a long time ago. It was a very poor guess. Yahweh is the guess nowadays. It's a better guess. We don't know for sure if it's right. We don't know what the vowels are. I know you think, well, I'm seeing vowels under that. Those vowels are the vowels for Adonai. So they write the consonants but because the vowels are lost, we don't know what they are, and they know everyone's going to say Adonai, they put in the vowels for Adonai. People who didn't know that, that's how they came up with Jehovah. But anyway, so Devar Adonai, the word of the Lord. Let me just remind you that I am a human, but my personal name is Jacob. God is God, that's what he is, but his personal name is this, Yahweh. So when you see that in the Bible, just know that's not a title. Lord is a title. It's a name. And that can actually make a significant difference. And make the stories make more sense when they're talking, oh, I went to this land of the Jews and I see that this Yahweh God is a real God and my God's not. So pagans would see that. It happens in Jonah. But let me just say that when you see in your English Bible, if you see this versus this, when you see this, all 4 caps, and these are a smaller font, they're giving you a clue. I know we're writing Lord, but what we mean is this, personal name of God. So, and then it happened, the word of the Lord. Now we've got another hyphenated phrase. It's a prepositional phrase. The word of the Lord. Can anyone read that first syllable there? It's a word, it's a preposition. It's L. See this? You got the silent, this letter, we don't pronounce anything for it. So we skip this, we go straight to the eh and the lamed. L. It means to or toward. Yeah, to. So, and then who is it to? Yonah. You see that? You got the first syllable, the yod and the holem vav, and the second syllable is the na. So you have a mater, a very long, in both of these, the holem vav and the kametz he. Yo-na, that's the name of Jonah. So, and then it happened, the word of the Lord, El Yonah, to Jonah. Now, it sounds awkward in English to say the word of the Lord to Jonah. So a lot of English translations will say the word of the Lord came to Jonah. But the author's not interested in telling you how it came. Did it come in a vision or a dream or an audible voice or a voice in his mind? We don't know. That's not what's important, though. What's important is that Jonah got the word of Yahweh spoken to him. And then we'll finish up the rest. You can practice pronouncing that. I'll do it really quickly. You can follow along. So I'll start over. Vayihi devar Adonai el Yonah ben Amittai. Vayihi, and then it happened. Devar Adonai, the word of the Lord, el Yonah, to Jonah. Vayihi devar Adonai el Yonah ben Amittai. That's actually ven Amittai. There's no pronunciation dot there. Ven Amittai, the son of Amittai. Vayihi devar Adonai el Yonah ben Amittai lemor. That word lemor means what follows is a direct quote. So it's often translated saying. So we'd say the word of the Lord came to Jonah saying, here comes a quote. Vayihi devar Adonai el Yonah ben Amittai lemor. Kum, lek el Nineveh ha'ir hagiralah. So kum, get up. Lake, go. El Nineveh, to Nineveh. There's that word again, to. Ha'ir hagadolah. Ha'ir is the city. Ir is city, and ha'ir, that's the. Ha'ir hagadolah. So that's the great city, but we're going to translate it, the city, the great one. In this class, every time we see an adjective, they'll come after the noun, and so we'll translate them in English after the noun. Not because it's more correct, because it'll help you with your Hebrew. And there's reasons for that we'll explain later. Kum, lek el Nineveh ha'ir hagiralah. Get up, go to Nineveh, the city, the great one. So go to Nineveh, that great city. That's how you'll see it in the English Bible. All right, keep practicing pronouncing. There's exercises in your workbook. There's you can read that verse, practice over that. There's lots of syllables in just that one, those 2 verses there in Jonah. I'm sure there's online exercises, but just practice pronouncing, even if you don't know what it means, because pretty quickly we're going to get to meaning, and we'll be getting into the Bible more each week.